Mushoku Tensei.
Mushoku Tensei.
Mushoku Tensei.
First isekai, right?
Mushoku Tensei is often touted as the grandfather of modern isekai.
A lot of people seem to have this misconception that Mushoku Tensei was the first isekai, or the isekai that started the tropes that we see everywhere today. But what if I told you that that was all wrong, and that a different isekai actually deserves the recognition that it's been robbed of? An anime so legendary that it paved the path for all future isekai. An anime that's even inspired light novels like Re:Zero, Konosuba, Log Horizon, Overlord. If you didn't know, a lot of these light novels aren't actually light novels at all. They're known as Naro-kei. Basically, these are web novels posted on the website Shosetsuka ni Naro, also known as Let's Become Novelists in English. Yep, all of these big name isekai came from the exact same website. But what are the origins of the Naro website? And why is it specifically isekai that are all coming out of this site? Well, to answer these questions, let's travel back to 2004, where the internet was a different place.
I'm telling you,
Looking back, 2004 was a fire year. Also the year that Japan reached its population peak, and that combined with the internet boom of the early 2000s led to a huge influx of creators on the Naro website. There weren't really any rules on Naro, so you could write whatever you wanted, and the stuff that people wanted to write? Fan fiction. As Kim Morrissey puts it, Naro culture is fan fiction culture, and in the 2000s, fan fiction of a particular anime was so popular that the website had to outright ban it later in 2012. What series broke this Naro website, you might ask? It's your isekai's favorite isekai, The Familiar of Zero. If you've been watching anime for at least a decade, you've probably heard of this show, watched it, and then dismissed it as stinky poo-poo. But you have to understand that back then, this was objectively the best isekai anime at the time. I mean, I have distinct memories of watching this when I was 13 at ungodly hours. So what makes The Familiar of Zero so special? Let's do a quick rundown of the plot, and maybe you can spot where a lot of the modern isekai influences come from. Okay, so basically there's this guy Saito walking the streets of Japan when he sees a strange light and is summoned to this fantasy world with magic and dragons and all that other isekai bullshit. What's a little different about this plot though is that he's actually summoned to the fantasy world as a familiar. You know how like everyone in Harry Potter had like an animal? You remember like Hedwig or the fucking rat? Like his master, Louise the Zero, turns out to be a huge tsundere because this is the early 2000s and of course she's a tsundere. She brands him as a slave, physically abuses him, and then they get married?
Can I crush your balls?
Yeah. But the rest of the series is basically just those two going on adventures. It's a light-hearted romantic comedy isekai that was met with pretty mediocre reception. Why did this anime out of all of them cause such a big stir on the Naro website? Well, a big reason is actually because the Familiar of Zero's story is just really easy to write fanfic for. Many authors on Naro would just have a different character from a different series get summoned instead of Saito. This creates a story that's really easily understood by readers without much investment. Now you have to understand that these fanfictions were huge in Japan. I mean, the author of Re:Zero literally got his start just by writing Familiar Zero fanfiction. In 2012, the moderators of the Naro website decided that the shitty fanfiction was getting out of hand and banned it in favor of promoting more original stories. But at this point it was too late. The Familiar Zero and all of its tropes had just sunk its roots so deep into the community of this website that authors were straight up copying the Familiar Zero and creating fanfics with different names. I mean, do you ever wonder why all these isekai have the exact same premise and feel so similar? It's because this culture of copying other people's work is in the lifeblood of the Naro community. Now, that's not to say that different isekai didn't innovate. Web novels like Log Horizon, Konosuba, Mushoku Tensei, these are all prime examples of web novels that weren't afraid to get out there and try new things. But at the end of the day, a lot of them owe huge respect to the Familiar Zero for popularizing a lot of these tropes. Now, I see you. You still might be a little skeptical of Mushoku Tensei's ties to Familiar Zero. I mean, how can a show so bad influence a show so good? So let's dive a little deeper into the creation of the original web novel. The author, Rifujin, tried to publish Mushoku Tensei in the light novel industry multiple times, but was repeatedly denied. It was only until he discovered the website Naro and read a bunch of original stories on there that he began publishing Mushoku Tensei on the website. Not only that, but as Rifujin wrote Mushoku Tensei, he would take works on Naro that inspired him and just throw in whatever elements he liked. I mean, in an interview, he literally admits that the climactic arc of Mushoku Tensei borrows directly from Re:Zero. So the whole notion that Mushoku Tensei started a bunch of trends is completely false. I mean, what Mushoku Tensei really did was take the very well-known tropes and refine them to such a degree that they felt new again. Now, it would be a disservice to say that it didn't come up with anything new or original. I mean, it does a better job at making its world feel more alive than most of their fantasy isekai. In addition, the recurring theme of addressing your personal trauma as the story goes on is pretty unique to Mushoku Tensei from an isekai standpoint. Whether or not you like the modern isekai genre, there's no denying that the Familiar Zero had a huge impact on the isekai genre, and I'm here to return some of its stolen valor, you know what I mean? The Familiar Zero truly is your isekai's favorite isekai. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, make sure to subscribe. Huge shout out to Kim Morrissey for her article, Mushoku Tensei is not the pioneer of isekai web novels, but ... on Anime News Network. It really helped with the research for this video and was very influential in making this video. Other than that, make sure to follow my Twitch. I give sneak peeks to my new videos every single day, and see ya.